I'm looking, I can see what's on TV in the reflection of my laptop. It's pretty weird because everything's backwards. Anyway, back on the subject of Writer's Digest. I ain't gonna leave them alone. Um, they have those contests, but now I don't know about now, but it costs money to enter it, and then you had to. One of them was so cheesy. You had to, not in Writer's Digest, but another one of those magazines was so cheesy. You had to send your own self-addressed stamped envelope to find out who had won the contest. You know, but I don't know. I think those kind of things just break people's hearts. I did set up my little uh, quote unquote business on Craigslist because it's called Work in Progress, and it's for editing, not heavy duty editing, no, you know, but like proofing and critique and that kind of thing, term papers, that kind of thing. Well, we won't have to worry about that till about April. That's when unless you're on some kind of weird trimester or something, because uh, April is spring. Well, the end of March is spring. Spring quarter will start. So like at the end, like around February and the beginning of March, middle of March, people should be hitting me up because I was walking, coming back from somewhere, and I was thinking to myself, I think I got another job rejection or something, and I was thinking to myself, it's up to me to make me rich. It's up to me, and the way I'm going to do it is writing. I'm not going to do it working somewhere. I'm not going to do it working for someone else. What I need to do is to use what I have, use my talent that I know I have to make money. So I set up my PayPal. I set up, then went to Craigslist and set up um, wrote my ad. I didn't read the rest of the stuff. Well, actually, how I started, one of the women, I was talking to one of my coaches on the phone, and she was saying something about looking on Craigslist for jobs. I wouldn't do that because I'd be afraid to go to someone's house. In this day, no. Yeah, and unless it was a big company, and I don't think big companies advertise on Craigslist. So anyway, I did that, and I called it works in progress because I don't know. I thought that'd be good. So it's on Craigslist if you have any papers, anything. But the stipulation is this: I review it first. No longer than 15 pages if it's a term paper. Short stories only. And the fee will vary by how much work I gotta do. Also, the stipulation is I get it a week to 10 days before it's due. So we have time to communicate back and forth. I've never taken 10 whole days. As a matter of fact, when my friend James, he was a classmate of mine in Novel Idea, when he um, published this book on Kindle. It only took me a few hours because number one, the man can write. And then number two, the only thing I had to do was just do a couple of little touch ups and stuff, and that was it. That was it. And he had left some stuff hanging. He hadn't transitioned smoothly into some of the other areas. I got confused. I didn't know he was talking about something else. So I promised you guys to show Writer's Digest how to and I think I said Facebook before, when I said that's all people do, they get on Facebook and talk about people. I meant YouTube. That people get on YouTube, they either make a video about somebody else's video so they can ride on their coattail, or they but I like the ones when people are showing you how to do stuff, like the makeup stuff. And I love that man to female drag stuff. I don't know why. I think it's the illusion. But I'm gonna read a little bit of dialogue, and we'll see if it fits into the thing. I'm not going to read the characters' names, So I didn't write he said, he said, he said. I wrote the characters' names, but I don't want to read them because that's some of the surprise I want in the book, the what the people's names are. So let's see again. Let's see where to begin. Let's see. Even the quick walk around the block had begun to clear her head. Though this situation would require further study, at least she'd come to grips with the shock of seeing blank again and the rush of feelings she still had for him. There you are, he said from the doorway of his study. I thought I'd been cast off. She laughed. Not a chance. I've been looking forward to this picnic for days. I just went to take the beasts for a walk. Those are her dogs, her poodles. She calls them the beasts. Well, um, Eddie B, I'll call the minor characters' names, says the picnic basket is ready whenever we are. Good. But first, I must speak to you. They settled in his library, he behind the desk and she perched on the chair in front of it. She looked around the room. It was very much like his offices back on the farm. Heavy leather furniture, a bar stocked with the finest libations, and a huge mahogany desk. She wondered how many men had made use of this haven from female interference. How many times had it been filled with boisterous laughter and fine cigar smoke as the hosts entertained their male company. And then she says, of course, she calls the man's name. Um, Remember, I told you my former mistress had family in New Orleans, three aunts, Mrs. Uh, like Mrs. Misses, Mrs. like two Misses. Baroneau. She fished in her pocket for a handkerchief before she went on. You see, one of them died, and he is here on business to settle the estate. I see. Convenient coincidence, isn't it? There's more. He paid a call this morning. Hmm. Must have been quite a bolt from the blue. Quite. He chuckled. And since you are still here, I assumed he hadn't come to sweep you away. She couldn't meet his eyes. Nothing like that. He saw me coming out of the hat shop and simply came to pay his respects. Would you have? He taunted. What? Gone with him? Of course not. Don't be silly. He picked up the gold letter opener from his desk and toyed with it for a second, then asked, how did it feel seeing him again? I'm not sure. Come now, you can do better than that. No envy of his new love or the domestic bliss that could have been yours? She sighed. There was no way she could tell him how her heart had thundered in her breast at the sight of a former lover. Instead, she answered, I would never do anything to hurt you or betray your trust. And he says, I have no doubt there was no impropriety on your part or on the part of the gentleman in question. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his legs at the ankles. If his intentions had been less than honorable, he certainly would not have visited your home, husband in residence, in broad daylight. I love you. Keep that in mind the next time the dashing Mr. Blank comes to call. With that, he rose and came around the side of the desk, pulling her to her feet. Enough of your grimy amours. I have a date with a beautiful woman in a lovely new dress, and I shan't want to be late. Okay, I think I got it. Writer's Digest. I think I got it. Also, too, while I was reading that, um, you can go on for a while with dialogue without any um, blocking. That's a theater word. Directions. But you just don't stand and talk to someone. I mean, you just don't talk back and forth to someone. You move. My hip is really bothering me. You move, you pick up something, you take a sip out of something, you eat, especially when people are eating, you know, around the dinner table or something eating. And these two people, she just came from a walk, and he came home to, these are my two major characters. He comes home to find out that while he was gone taking care of business, whatever devil it was he was doing, she had gone out for a walk with her poodles, and she comes back, and because when her former lover stopped by, she really wasn't, it just came out of the blue. Not really. She had heard he was in town, but she didn't. Maybe I'll read some about that later, because it's women talking. Um, and I can call the names because they're minor characters. But and this is when she returns from her walk, and he's waiting for her because they were supposed to go and feed the swines and go to the park and have a romantic evening. And she is still sort of um, she still has feelings. Seeing her former lover again just brought back all these feelings to her, and she needed, after he left, she needed to get out and get herself together and not be in that state when her man, you know, um, came home. And so this is the dialogue that they have when this is the dialogue that they had when she tells him that this man had come to the house to visit. um Also, to the setting of where your dialogue is, we know there, we can see it in our mind where they are. They're in his study, and that's another thing I was saying about not a lot of narration. You can a little bit, of narration about her looking around the room and seeing, all the little masculine touches. This they're in New Orleans. They're in New Orleans, and they've he's rented this beautiful big mansion, and they're living in it, and he has his own study. And she that's a little bit of narration. Actually, in the book, it would be less than a paragraph, but that's all you need. You don't need those long, even though Richard Wright is known for that stuff, pages of narration. But of course, he had a different style, even though I tried to style myself behind him. um Also, too, what people, I touched on it before, what people are doing while um they talk. What are they doing? Are they he said, taking a sip of coffee, or he picks up the um letter opener and plays with it. I have another scene where one of my characters, he's it's really a bad situation, but he just happens to pick up one of his children's rattle while he's having this really serious conversation with this person, basically telling this person that they're going to live the rest of their life in like a living death or whatever. And he picks up one of his children's rattle, silver rattle, and kind of plays with it and kind of laughs and goes, thinking about his kid, and kind of puts it down. um I put that in there because it was such a dire thing going on. And also, I thought the dialogue and whatever was going on was so dire. Also, I thought that the prisoner, it's my arch villain. He's back in Georgia, getting ready to be, sentenced to his whatever you call it, to the living death, I called it. Um, and he is, he's shackled, he's chained, he's finally back in Georgia. He done he's he's given up, and he has a child. And I thought that would be very poignant at that point, that, this the master of the plantation, stops and has a little fatherly moment while he's laying down the law on this slave, who also has a child, but his child isn't anywhere near him. Gosh, man, my hip. Um, um, how he would feel to see another person play with rattle, play with, just nonchalantly pick up their child's um, rattle, and play with it just a moment. um, Also, too, my character is my male character in Autumn. We're still talking about Autumn is English. So I had to be very careful about, like I think I said before, using words that aren't too modern. And also, too, how the tone that um, English accent puts a emphasis on the last word, and they say their vowels very different. And because I was looking at a YouTube video about it actually. That I would love to get that English accent down. Can you imagine how hot I'd be? But but then when we go to England, we do have that accent. So, six in one hand, half dozen the other. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say about dialogue. I just want to read that little bit just to show you that you can tell. Now there are some people who just write dialogue, 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 and they get their point across, and it's good writing. I um Even when you're just standing talking to someone, you're not just standing there. I mean, you might be sitting, you might be sitting still facing them. You might be standing facing them, but you know you're gonna look up, you're gonna look around, you're gonna shift, you're gonna, you have to sparse those things with it. Also too, it shows mood. It denotes what kind of mood the character is in. You can tell she's very nervous. She knows she has to tell, her man, her quote unquote husband, that her former lover paid a call. She knows she has to tell this man that. Um, and following this, and so she's very nervous. She doesn't know what how to do it. She finally does. He takes it very well, but I'm pretty sure you can tell he didn't like the idea of it, you know. And when he teases her and asks her, she says, yeah, that he came, and he kind of teases her and says, well, he says something, yeah, you heard it, that was she, since she was still there, evidently, her former lover didn't come to take her away, you know. And then they go on, and then that's when he asked her, would you have? And the thing about men not asking rhetorical questions, in my personal opinion, in the article I read in Writer's Digest, is bull. Men do ask rhetorical questions. Now, there are times when men are solvers. They want to solve things. And that's what frustrates women a lot. Like when a woman's under stress, she wants to talk and become specific about every little detail about how that girl at work walked into the room and picked up her sticky notes, and always takes her sticky notes over to her desk. And the woman is trying to tell her man about this, and how this gets on her nerves, and then yeah, and then she had on this yellow dress and she don't need to be wearing it, yeah, 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 yeah. And the man would say something like, well, just get her own pack of sticky notes. And at the time, that's not what the woman wants. She wants you to listen. That's all she wants to do. She wants to vent, you know. Um, like I said, yelling and screaming at a man and getting angry because, men, okay, then men become global, you know. They want, just like he asked her, well, would you have gone? But plus two, he has a little nasty teasing side to him. And ever since they've been in New Orleans, he's been, not nasty in terms of that. It's just a little personality quirk he has, that he can push her buttons, And you notice she didn't answer the question. She said, I would never do anything, to harm you, or, disrespect our relationship and stuff like that. She never really answers the question. You don't think he realized that? Did I have to say it? No. I didn't have to say she didn't answer the question. You heard the dialogue. You heard what she said. Also, setting. We know that he's standing in the doorway of his office. Of his study when she comes back from the dogs, and oh, I thought it'd been stood up. But of course, I couldn't use stood up. That's another thing. I couldn't use stood up. That was too modern a word. So I used that thesaurus, and used cast off, which means the same thing as stood up, like stood up for a date or something like that. So that's enough of that. And I may have a costume change. I don't know. And then do another one. See you later.